All right, hi everybody. Today I'm going to walk you through the first part of Garageband, which is going to be getting your song started, choosing a poem, and then we're going to work on rhythm, texture, and timbre today, those three elements. All right, so let's get started. So here's my poem. I found this poem on poets.org. I love this poem because it has some really awesome imagery in it. It's called a jellyfish, but it doesn't ever use the word jellyfish in it. I love that, and when I read it, it sounded pretty cool and funky, and I think I can teach my students a lot with this in language arts. So the first thing to do is read your poem and think about what kind of rhythm do you want to go with this. Now we've done this in class, so you can look back at your notes and see what those words are that you wrote down that talk about your rhythm, the rhythm that you have selected. For me, this one, listen to it. Visible, invisible, a fluctuating charm, an amber-colored amethyst inhabits it, your arm, approaches, and it opens, and it closes. I think it sounds fast-paced, upbeat, funky. It's talking about this encounter with a jellyfish, so it's like the way I interpret it is it's like a human encountering this jellyfish. All right, so those are the ideas in my head. I want it to be funky and upbeat. So that now I'm going to go into GarageBand. So you find this app, find it in your, either down in your lowest Finder screen, or you can find it up in your apps, your apps. Look for GarageBand in your apps. So here you can see something I've started working on. I'm gonna go to I'm clicking up here in File. I'm going to go to a new project. So I'm going to click New. I'm not going to save that one. So you have a bunch of options here. You can mess around with those, but we're just going to go into Empty Project and click Choose. It's going to open a screen for me and give me some choices here. Again, you can play around with these options if you like, but to get started, we're just going to click Audio Microphone. We're going to get that microphone set for when we want to add our voice. So I'm clicking this microphone here, and I'm going to click Create. Now, down here at the bottom, you can see a lot of buttons, options, dials. If you understand those because you've worked with that kind of thing before, great. But if not, then you just come up here to Audio. I'm going to double click that. And then note how that just goes away. That's what I want. I want that to go away. So to choose my voice, now again, look, you can record all kinds of things in here. You can just record whatever you want. But I'm going to go into Voice. There's lots of options here. If I choose one of these, it's going to actually give my voice an effect. It's going to sound different when I record it, but I just want it to sound natural for now. So that's the one I'm going to click, and now I've got that all set. Okay, now I want you to set a few other preferences that are going to help you later on when you come back to this song. So you're going to go up here to File, and then GarageBand is right there. You can see where it says Preferences. So now I've clicked into this little key, or it might be in general like that. I'm going to click over here into Loops, and I'm going to check both of those boxes. Filter for more relevant results, it might already be checked, so just leave it checked if it is. And then Loop Browser, display the original tempo and key. Again, it's going to help you if you understand certain things about music. If not, you can leave that unchecked too. Doesn't really matter for what we're going to do today. All right, I'm going to click that Close. Next thing I'm going to do to prepare myself is I'm going to come up here to Track, and I'm going to click two things I want you to show: the arrangement track and the transposition track. Okay, so we're going to click Arrangement Track, Show, Transposition Track, Show. Those things are always there, but we're just going to click them for now so that they're ready. So now we've got a nice setup here. We've got our voice, our transposition, and our arrangement. And now we're going to go in and play with our sounds. So you're going to click over here to Loops. Okay, that little button right there. And now I can see all the different instruments I can explore around with. Couple of things to note. All these different tempos and keys that you're being shown here are going to be evened out by this function right here. So right here I've got a tempo set. It's a fast tempo. If I want, I can adjust that. If I want to go slower, I can click on that and adjust that. and it's going to let me mess around with that later. I also have a key here that I can adjust. Right now it's in the key of C, so everything that I drag in is going to do that. And as I mentioned, same thing with the tempo. So there, I double clicked the tempo, and now I can change it. It's at 120 beats per 120 beats per minute right now. So that's pretty fast. 60 is 1 beat per second, so that's a little bit slower. So you can adjust that there if you want. I'm leaving it at 120 because I know I want mine to be a little bit faster. But just to show you, I can switch it to 110, and I can always switch it back whenever I want to just by double clicking up there. Also, you're going to see here that you have something that's going to show you what bar or measure you're at and what beat you're at in that measure. Because we're in the time signature of 4/4, we're going to get 4 beats per measure, and here's where you can see those measures, and you can see the little beats there too. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like a little ruler, but this is showing you your measure and your beats within that measure. If I want to change that, notice that I can do that if I want to. I can make it in groups of 3. 3 is kind of more dancing and lilting, or 6/8 or anything else. I can do a custom if I want. I can make it 5 beats per measure and make it something kind of cool and funky like that if I want to. But I'm going to leave it at 4/4 for this demonstration. It's a pretty common time signature. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start playing with my sounds. So over here, I can do a couple of different ways to explore. I can choose it by instrument. If I know I want a bass sound to start with, I can do that. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do here in a minute, but I want to show you these other options first. If you decide you want to just work within a genre, it will show you all the instruments that go in that genre. So if I click funk, which would kind of be my genre for this, it's going to just show me all the different choices that are out there for funk. Another thing I can do, I can go within funk, or I can X out of that and start over. I can choose a mood within funk. So maybe single or clean or grooving or dry, it's going to filter by that. Something kind of arrhythmic, if it's kind of that kind of way, if that's the way I want my song to go. All right, then to get out of that and get back to all your sounds, you just click on this X, and it takes you back to everything. Okay, so I'm going to go into instrument, and I'm going to pick, I changed my mind. I'm going to go into genre, and I'm going to pick funk. And I'm going to listen to some of these basses and explore and find one that I like. To do that, I'm just going to click on it. Whatever it is that I want to hear, I'm going to click on. When I find one that I like, what I can do is take it and drag it over to my working screen over here. See where it says drag ABBA loops here? So I'm not going to drag it onto my vocal. If I do that, and by the way, if you make any error that you want to get rid of, you're going to click Command Z, just like you would in a Word doc. Stop that for a second. Command Z, just like you would in a Word doc, and it will undo whatever you just did, and you can keep going back with that. I like that bass sound. It's good and funky. This loop is 8 beats long, so when I drag it in, it's going to take up 8 beats or 4 measures. So I'm going to drag that in, put it where I want it. Took it a second there, but it uploaded it. Now notice it's taking up 2 measures, but I want it to go longer. I'm going to work with this. I want to make my initial little thing I'm going to work with here. I want to make, this is going to be my introduction. I want to make it 8 measures. I can make it longer, I can make it 16, doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want. I can extend it later too. All right, now I've got a bass sound, so let's hear how that goes. Okay, I'm going to keep exploring. I want to add some piano sounds, some higher sounds. There's a clav. I don't really want that. How about this? That's better. So let's add that next. I'm going to drag it in and add that in, starting in the 3rd measure. Layering. So we're working in texture here. Timbre is this over here. This is our sound, our tone color box. And then over here is our texture. We're layering here. So now I've got 2 sounds layered. I start with 1. Okay, now you could hear each of these loops does something interesting. Sometimes they have chords within them. Okay, so you can hear with that clap that I put in, there was a little chord change in there that I wasn't crazy about. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that. I'm going to do Command Z. And there you could, oh, I went too far. So I'm just going to go, I got to redo that. So I'm going to do, instead of undo, I'm going to do redo. Yeah, I want that to be longer. So I didn't like that, so I can keep exploring. For now, I'm just going to select a few things to put in. Here's an electric piano. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to drag it in right where that clav was, and I'm going to extend it out for my whole introduction. Okay, then that's my electric piano. I want some drums. And if I don't see the drums that I'm looking for here in funk, I see they don't really have any drums for me. I'm going to come back up here, X out of that, go into my instrument, go into my drum kits, and here's all the choices that I have. So let's hear this one. Okay, so I can choose what I want. I'm going to add that in right there. And I'm going to make that last out. I'm going to click on that and make that last out my whole intro too. So I'm going to mess around with that till I have it how I want it. Okay, so now I've created some texture, I've created some timbre, and I've added a rhythm to it. Okay, now notice, okay, and oh, by the way, what I just did is I stretched it out and I clicked on this by accident, so I made my beats bigger. Okay, so watch that, watch what happens there. See, I can stretch it out or narrow it down depending on what I want to do. Okay. What I meant to do was to click this little thing and move it back over here so that you could see that. Okay, so now I have an introduction done right here. Notice that it's changed my key because most of the sounds that I've selected, okay, that upbeat funk break, there's no key to that one, but the other ones that I chose were in the key of D, so it kind of adjusted it for that. So that's how I know the ones that I selected there. Also my tempo. So I'm going to double click that, bring it back up to 120, and you'll be able to hear it speed up slightly. Okay, so there I can hear that the sounds that I've selected are going together pretty well. So now I'm ready to give this section a name. I'm going to call this my introduction. So I'm going to go up here to my little arrangement that I've done. I'm going to click Add. All right, so we've created this introduction here, and now I want to make sure that GarageBand remembers and that I remember that that was my introduction. So what I'm going to do is come up here to my arrangement track. So this is now we're dealing with form just a little bit here. I'm going to click the plus button right there. And note that it just automatically called it because it was the first thing I did. It called it my intro. Now if I ever want to adjust what it's naming things, I can click right on that name and I can rename it anything that I really want to or change it to whatever it is. Okay, so now I've got my intro. I'm ready to continue on with my song and add some vocals or do some other things with my music. So go ahead and finish up exploring with that, and then we'll go on to the next video.